Hi everybody, welcome. Good morning. Welcome to Progressive. Before we get into the details of relationships, because it's a complex topic in and of itself, before we get into the complexities of it, I needed to explain to you some principles of what it is based upon as per the Vedic tech. Okay, think of it as I'm trying to simplify this very complicated interfaces between different things in Vedic astrology. But never mind. What is important to understand, putting it simplistically, think of this as different operating systems in a computer. Okay, different kinds of operating systems are there. So think of this as different operating systems, and the planets sitting in these different operating systems, which I'll be talking about later in the podcast. The planets sitting in the operating system are bringing in their energy through the energy of the operating system. So it planet has its own energy, but what it brings in a chart is dependent upon the kind of operating systems we are using. Okay, just think in these simplistic terms. Simplify to basic principles, and you will get to this thing very quickly. So we'll talk about gunas. Gunas means quality. Sanskrit term. Gunas means quality. Gana means a group of people. So the planet is basically divided into three categories of people in this. Three. That's it. Simple. Devguna, Devgana, Manushya Gana, and Rakshasa Gana, who are qualities of Sattva Guna, Rajas Guna, and Tamas Guna. So we'll see this Guna and Gana business. Okay, stick with me, and then we will discuss more. Hi everyone. So let's get into the podcast part of it. The quality or the Guna is the same thing, interchangeable. Okay, Guna in Sanskrit means a quality. Gana means groups of people. So there are basically three types. Good news, it's not many, there's three types. So how does the inherent quality of an individual affect the overall individual relationships? Let it be intimate relationships with spouse, etc. Let it be with family, let it be with friends, let it be even with social media, let it be anywhere. It affects all, with boss, with colleagues, with anybody whom you meet, with strangers, with your in-laws, with your grandparents. Relationships means everything. We are covering everything about relationships in this playlist. But unless you understand these qualities, it will be difficult for you to follow the rest of the principles. So I've thought about it last night and I was like, first we need to explain some basics here. Otherwise, for the person non-learned in Vedic astrology, this can be very complicated science. It's not. I'm simplifying it for you here. This is more like a self-help learning tool. Okay, that's the object of making these podcasts in the form of podcasts. So let's get into it. The first one being the quality of Sattva, or they belong also to Devgana, the Deva group. Deva group, okay? Don't mistake this for gods and goddesses. We're not talking about anything like that. Or demons. We're not talking about that. We are talking about a quality here. The quality of Sattva. What are the qualities of Sattva? Well, these are listed here. And in astrological terms, in Vedic astrological terms, these three planets, the Sun, the Moon, and Jupiter, have these inherent qualities about them. The Guru or Jupiter as a teacher, Sun as the soul, Moon as the mind. These are the high qualities where we operate from. Well, what are the qualities? They have got good mental strength, they have got balance, harmony, goodness, and purity. They're constructive, creative, and have a positive attitude. They're seeking knowledge and wisdom and kindness above all things, above and goodwill, above all material comfort. These are not materialistic people. These are more ideational, conceptual people who are thinking in terms of ideas. What do I create next? They are creators. They are quiet. They're not very pompous. They have a kind demeanor. They have good self-control. What can be the downside is these people are always caught up in maybe too many ideas and not too much implementation part of it. Well, that's where Rakshasa Gana and Tamas Guna and Rajas Guna come into the picture. They are the ones who will translate these ideas and bring it into the external world. Okay? So that's the first quality, Sattva Guna. And these Sattva Guna and these planets belong, Sattva Guna belongs to these three planets. Now, don't confuse this. For these planets always having Sattva, it depends upon what kind of nakshatra or constellation they fall into. We shall see this a little later on, just one step at a time. The quality of Sattva is carried by these three planets: the Sun, the Moon, the Jupiter, astrologically speaking. The next one on our chart, the qualities of Rajas. Rajas is something that moves. Rajas quality is something that moves, and predominantly the Manusha Gana, the Manusha group of people has it. Even if you divide the 7 billion people on the earth by 3, we get about 2.3 something. 2.3 billion people have more of Rajas Guna. If you just say the 3 Gunas or the 3 groups, Ganas are Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, or Deva, Manusha and Rakshasa Gana. So it makes it about 2.3 billion people. That's a lot of people. So, qualities of Rajas, they have enthusiasm and drive. They're interested in pursuits of all kinds. They're passion driven, activity driven. They're very active people. They need to move the energy. They're neither good or bad. They can be dualistic. Sometimes either. They can switch between these two. So that's why it belongs to the quality of Manusha. Manusha, as you will see as we go along in these videos, you will get the whole gist of this. Don't worry about if you don't understand all at one shot. These people can be self-centered, egotistical and individualizing everything, like I, me, myself, this is my idea, this is my thing. That can be a possible result of this. They are activity and work driven. They're more of activity. This is an energy of activity. They're restless because of this. High mental and physical activity. Desire to move. They're the movers and shakers of this world. What can be the downside is they have the greed and endless passions can become a downside. Without grounding it and leaving it with certain level of detachment, like, okay, I made this, I achieved this, stop. Not I, me, myself, it's about the rest of the world also, not too egotistical or self-centered. So greed can get them a little down. The last, we have quality of Tamas. Tamas is something that is very physical, very grounded in approach. So everywhere, as you can see, I'm highlighting the planets which are carrying these gunas. The other ones I forgot to tell you was Mercury, Venus, and the higher level it was Uranus and Neptune, but we'll leave that aside. We'll come to that later, much later. So planets on the right side are carrying this tamas guna in this case. Who are the tamasic people? They're cautious, very cautious people, careful. These are the ones who would call themselves, I am a realist, I'm practical, I'm not pessimistic, that kind of thing. They're cautious, they're dominating, they want to dominate anything that's going on. They are very pessimistic kind of people, they appear to be, because they are looking at they were slow to go at everything. They have imbalance, disorder, chaos and anxiety going on in their mental and emotional body more compared to the other ones. These are a question of degrees here. They can be destructive, delusional, negative, dull or inactive mind. It goes in the mind becomes more dull if the person has got more planets or points, all of these plus the other ones in the tamasic nakshatras, in the Rakshasa Gana. We'll see that in the last slide. These people can have apathy, inertia, lethargy. They can be violent, vicious and ignorant. They are revengeful and suspicious. They are hardworking, good quality. They are hardworking and they want to translate everything to physical reality. Tamasic people, tamasic quality is about physical actualization, about physically building something, the bricks and the mortar of civilization. They can get overtly materialistic and greed driven. Those kind of passions can become their downsides. So they need to watch for this quality. Now there are 3 gunas you can see, and they are related to the Gana. The Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, the soul being in the center. I put sun as the symbol there because sun is a significator of soul even in astrology. So there are 3 gunas we see, right? Gunas are qualities. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas qualities. Now they are related to the Dev Gana, the Manusha Gana and the Rakshasa Gana, the groups of people, the 3 main groups of people you can see. So what are the points important to remember here? More planets in the horoscope or birth chart, predominantly in one type of nakshatra, belonging either to Devgana, Manushya-gana or Rakshasa-gana. So there are totally 27 nakshatras, 9 in each type. 9 3 times 27. So if more number of planets or points sit in one particular type of nakshatra, Devgana Nakshatra or Rakshasa-gana Nakshatra or Manushya-gana Nakshatra, their behavior will be more of that type. Those kind of life themes will play out in the world for them. Second, the type of planets or points will bring that planet's energy along with the house it sits in, first to 12, number 1 to number 12 houses that we have seen, to that particular guna. Suppose Saturn is sitting in the 7th house in Ashwini. So it will bring that quality to partnership and in a sattvic way. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to combine 3 things in a row here. Type of planets and points will bring the planet's energy along with the house it sits in and the guna we are seeing here, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, and the Gana where it sits in the nakshatra. So the outer circle is signifying the nakshatra. The inner circle here is signifying the quality of that nakshatra. Okay? So we have got 9, 3 times 27. That finishes up all the nakshatras, really, which we'll see in the next slide. So as you can see here, there are 9 constellations each. Devgana, Manushya-gana and Rakshasa. 9 groups each. 9 of Dev, 9 of Manushya, 9 of Rakshasa. And I have colored them so that you find that easy to distinguish. The Dev group is in the blue, the beige group is Manushya, and the yellow group is Rakshasa. So you will see totally 9 of each. 9 of blue, 9 of beige, and 9 of yellow. Okay? This animal significations and others we have already covered in the relationship part 1. You can see there if you want, that's very detailed. The relationship compatibility, but now we are going one step deeper. We are taking deep dive into these things so that it is practical for you. You can research it for yourself. You can plot in any number of these websites that are out there. You can get your chart plotted in the Diamond North Indian chart style, and you can check your own child's chart. Where is it falling? Why is this my son or my daughter having this particular tendency? I hear these questions all the time in the groups I'm part of on Facebook, everywhere. Like, why is my child behaving like this? Or what can I do to correct this? Or what will my child be interested in? And what kind, he's getting into all kinds of relationships. How can we make his career and relationships, which is my focal point, better, right? It's upon improving the quality of life. Everything comes down to improving the quality of life. That's the purpose of being progressive. We need to improve upon something that's already given to us, right? This is the goal of this exercise. So keep in mind this podcast, revisit it as and when you feel need to revisit some basic principles here. We will deal with it more and more direct deep dive into the chart level in the next one. Okay? Take care. Ta-ra.